So this is this second half. The lesson is kind of like a challenge to you. You know, Jesus believed Isaiah. He quotes from it extensively. It's hugely quoted from in the New Testament 472 times. So Jesus believed Isaiah was true, and Paul and John and Peter and Luke and all of the New Testament writers believed it was true. But do you? Because we can become almost unbelieving in the way we look at the Bible, that we say it's true, but if it's true, God says, I want to give you perfect peace in your crumbling world. Now let me show you a little Hebrew lesson. Shalom is a noun, and it means peace. In fact, Jewish people, if you go to Israel, they go shalom, shalom, shalom. But it's a word that has multiple meaning if you understand it. Because shalom is the noun form of a verb. And actually what makes the noun is the meaning of the verb. And the verb is shalom. It's very similar. But the verb means to be made complete. And Isaiah explains that. And he says, all of us are incomplete and we're restless until we allow God to bring this perfect shalom, shalom to our lives. So that's what the book of Isaiah is about. Now, the ancients, the early Christians, the ancient Christians, called Isaiah the fifth gospel. It's interesting. We have Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, but they said the gospel in the Old Testament was Isaiah, and that's because of the whole way it's lined up and given to us. Now, the stuff in red is what's on your final exam, so you should really work on this, and my academic directors really get them to learn this. Isaiah has two parts: God's expectations of his people, first 39 chapters. God's future plans for his people, those last 27 chapters. Our mighty God is chastening his people. That's kind of like the first 39 chapters' major theme. Our merciful God is comforting his people. That's the last 27 chapters. So everything in those boxes you will see either as a fill in the blank or a matching or a true and false. Next, all of that is on the exam. There is some way or another that that is going to be reflected. It'll say something like, if we're talking about the throne of God, what chapter would it be in? Say it out loud. Okay, look up. If we're talking about the throne of God, what chapter would it be in? That's 2/3 of you. Let's try once. What chapter is the throne of God? 6. Very good. If we're talking about the Messiah, the birth of Christ, his incarnation, the virgin birth, what chapters would that be in? 7 and 9. Very good. And how about, where did Satan come from? What chapter would that be in? 13. Good, because it might not say doom of Babylon, but you have to kind of know the whole line for that. If you want to see the tribulation described in the Old Testament, what chapters would you look at?
24, 27.
And then the greatest prophecy, the letter to Cyrus, is 45. Good. How about Christ's crucifixion and the atonement? What chapter is that?
53.
Good. And the second coming of Christ is described in?
63.
And the millennium.
65.
What is the millennium? What does millennium mean? Yeah, Guppy got it, 1,000 years. Here, millennium is a Latin word. Mille means 1,000, and annum is Latin for years. So 1,000 years. Now, you will meet someone, in fact, half of Christendom is Reformed. No, I should put it this way, no. Half of all born-again Christians are Reformed, and the other half are not Reformed. Calvinism and Arminianism, like that. Have you all heard about this controversy? Okay. And so the Presbyterians, the Episcopalians, the Methodist, well, no, not the Methodist, some Baptists, the Roman Catholics, they're Reformed. Reformed theology was started by St. Augustine, not Calvin. Augustine. So they're over here. They don't believe in the millennium. They say, no, that's not true. And you know what they tell you? It's not in the Bible. You know what? They're right. That word, millennium, is not in the Bible. Where did it come from? It comes from the Hebrew word for 1,000 years. That is 6 times in the Bible. 1,000 years. It's in Revelation 20, 1,000 years, 6 times in a row, describing what 28% of the Old Testament prophets spent their time on. 1/4 of the Old Testament is about the millennium. During the millennium, everything Jesus promised he'd do on the earth is fulfilled. And that's what's right here. These 2 chapters are huge. So, on your quiz, if I ask you, how long is the millennium? How long would you say it is? And how do you know it? Because the Bible says it. Not because a theological term, millennium, but it actually says 6 times it's 1,000 years long. So just for you to know that, okay?